Today, we're going to be talking to Christina D. Ambrose about her book, Exception to the Rule. But you know how this goes, so we're going to start off with a costume reveal.
3, 2, 1.
And I get my cat.
Well, you know what? Everybody needs a pet. Everybody needs a pet. The best
He's my writing buddy.
Nice. Now, I don't know if you saw me play with this thing on TikTok, but he's so fun to play with on TikTok. And later maybe I'll turn him on, make him whistle at you. But in the meantime, I'm just going to stroke him suggestively while I speak to you. Actually, nobody wants to watch me stroke BB-8 for the entire thing. So give me a second. I'm going to get changed.
Okay.
This looks a little frumpy, but I don't give a crap. Don't give a crap.
So did you see what I got? So hold on. They turn on. And there we go.
That's how I know I'm with my people, man. I know. So anyway, we're here to talk to Christina today about her book, The Exception to the Rule. La, 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 la. Which, by the way, the cover art, just to die for. Like, this is gorgeous cover art. Even if I didn't know anything else about this book except for this picture, I'd be like, purchase.
I know Teresa Ozzie did such a great job. I told her kind of how I thought the characters looked like, and she just knocked it out of the park. She was amazing.
You did part of the cover yourself, though, didn't you?
Yes, I did the background, and then she did the characters, and then she mushed everything together, so it looked fantastic. So
it does look fantastic. So this is Memoirs of Being an Omega, book 1. So I'd like to read the back to everybody so that everyone knows what the book is about. So okay. I always do the disclaimer, I am not a voice actor. I have a slight cough. So everyone's just going to have to suffer through me trying my best. So Violet Dawson loves her job as an event planner at Hughes Publications. She's spirited, independent, and definitely not your typical Omega. She's determined not to be drawn to the gorgeous Theodore Chamberlain, senior editor and company alpha asshole. She hates him. Truly she does, even when he smells like heaven on earth. They are thrust together to plan an event, and all seems to go well until Violet's workspace floods and they have to share an office. This is like one bed, only office. What will become of them when their close proximity causes Violet to go into heat? Can they put aside their experiences that have made them guard their hearts? Or are their differences too much for them to find true love? The Exception to the Rule is the first book in the series Memoirs of Being an Omega, which follows 4 Omegas, Violet, Rachel, Alex, and Mia, in their quest for true love. So what made you pick Omegaverse?
Well, it actually was, they were doing a prompt. This is based off of a fan fiction that I got a prompt, and I said rom-com Omegaverse, and I went, that sounds fun. And because what is rom-coms but the exaggeration of 2 people coming together, and I was like, and Omegaverse is kind of in that same kind of ballpark. It's this exaggeration of desire and everything thrusting 2 people together because of their hormones or their designation or whatever. And so I said, well, I don't want to go and do the typical designations where alpha is very dominant and omegas are very submissive. And I was like, if we're going to do it as a rom-com, we're going to switch it and make him awkward and unsure of himself. And then she is going to be feisty and determined. So she is more dominant in the relationship in that particular thing. So I really wanted it, because that to me would bring out the comedy of the situation too, because she's like, what is your problem? You're an alpha. you're supposed to know what to do. You're supposed to, you're supposed to be in control of this. And he has absolutely no clue. So it's just, it makes him more adorable and loving. So
and primer for people who aren't familiar with Omegaverse. So imagine werewolves that don't transform. They have very animalistic characteristics, like scent. You can tell the people that you want to be with sexually by their scent. And there's alphas, there's betas. Betas are like regular people. And then there are omegas. The best sexual pairing is between an alpha and omega, though it can happen all sorts of different ways. Girls and boys can be alphas. Boys and girls can be omegas. So really anything goes. But there is intimacy. Frantic intimacy. Like very easy to stumble into intimacy. Like, oh, I smell you. I don't know you, but let's do this thing.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my God. I wrote on Omegaverse too, and they stumbled right away. For people who want some spice, that's the way to go, in my humble opinion.
Well, yeah, and it's just and it's very tricky to write too, because you have to take this level of how intense you want to take your Omegaverse. And one of the things, because mine was a rom-com, I wanted it to be a little bit more lighter and not as intense, but still have their desire be still as intense, but in a different way. And I used a lot of, I tried to use some comedy in it, because of him not ever being with an Omega before. Everything is exaggerated in his mind, in his eyes. And she is very self-conscious about everything too, because this is her first time being with an alpha. So, the absurdity of everything that happens while she goes into heat now becomes this overly embarrassment kind of feel, and he's not making it any better for her in a certain way, because he doesn't know what's going on. He is so confused. Oh, I know. He's like, ah! and to me, I think that makes them more endearing, and makes you kind of really want to root for them to be together, because you do see this chemistry between them. And because
sorry,
no, go. There's this really great chemistry between them, and you really, really, really want them to be together. You see him really trying, and you see that she's starting to kind of become fond of him. And so there's this whole thing where you really, really want them to be together. So
I love, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but there's this really cute scene in the beginning where, they start off in a place of animosity because she doesn't like him. I mean, the back of the book says that she thinks he's an asshole, so that's not spoiling anything. But like, there's this moment where they have to meet, and he just klutzes out. He just completely like you imagine him being like such a suave person just because of the way they talk about him, and then he comes in and he like immediately klutzes out, and so it's super cute.
And then he's all flustered, and she's like, what are you doing? And it's just, from there, it's like, you see he's really trying, and he's freaking out, and it's just, yeah. And the funniest thing is, when I was writing this story initially, I did not start at the beginning.
Really?
The first scene that I wrote, because it was so solid in my mind, was when she went into heat. So that's
how it always starts in the brain.
And so what it was is it set the whole tone of how I wanted the story, humor-wise, and their interactions together, and his awkwardness and everything, and he's always trying to do the right thing by her. even though she's very demanding. So that whole character setup started with that scene, and then I went back to the beginning and began writing. So that's how it all kind of, that's when I solidified exactly how I kind of saw those characters. And then I could go back and then show the progression to that point.
I do stuff like
And
that
go
too.
from there.
Yeah, like I do bulleted outlines because for me, like the one thing I want to have is I really want to land a strong ending. Like I love reading certain writers and I will enjoy the crap out of the book, but they don't stick the ending. And so like the one thing I want to do is like I want to stick the ending. But sometimes as I'm going through the outline, like certain bullets just become like whole friggin' chapters. Just like whole friggin' chapters, and then I bullet out again to the end, and then the end becomes like a whole friggin' chapter. And then I'm like, okay, well now I need to fill in the middle part. But what's your writing process like?
It's it's fairly chaotic.
I like how you keep clearing your throat. You're just like,
yeah, exactly.
my
Let me
writing
get started here. Basically what happens is a lot of times I get inspired by a photograph, an artwork, or a prompt. And from there, sometimes the words start flowing, or like with this particular one, a scene was very solid and very sure in my mind. And then I would start there. My inspiration come from different ways, but a lot of times once I do begin writing, then I start kind of say, I want these things to happen in the story in this order. And then I definitely want these characters to be in it. So I start kind of filling in like who I want to be in it, who I want to have in it, the order of events. And then I do kind of sort of outline, but it's more of like, I want this to happen in this chapter. And I do like a little mini paragraph at the beginning. And then I say, okay, so that's what I want. And then sometimes that evolves and changes because, you know, these characters sometimes just want to do their own doggone thing. And it's kind of crazy because as you're writing, you'll start discovering new things that you didn't even realize was going to happen. And so you either get rid of it or you go with it and see where it leads. And sometimes it continues to lead in the same direction, but you might have more depth of emotion between them or more of a connection. And so that's the kind of stuff that you kind of, so I'm always free to where the writing leads me to. So it's kind of a combination. That's why I say chaos, because it's just, in a way, it's kind of plotted out, but not really. So it's kind of like,
you're a plantser, like part of it's plan and part of it's pantsing. So if you guys don't know what pantsing is like a little term we use. It's like writing by the seat of your pants. So you're pantsing. You like nothing is planned. You're just kind of going with the flow. But if you plan a little bit, but give it space to breathe, you're a plantser. And then there are people who write an outline and like the outline is God. And those are just planners. My outline is not God. I give it some space to breathe. So we're the same in that.
Yeah, it just, I can't stick to I hated doing outlines when I was doing reports. You know, it's just like, it just, to me, it just like, you mean I have to write an outline? Okay, I guess I will. Who knows if I'll stick with it, but go ahead, there's my outline. But yeah, I mean, it's just, that's the kind of, to me, that's the fun thing about writing is the exploration. So
I like my outlines. I feel like outlines are where I can be the most creative and make the most mistakes. you know, because it's easy to go back and change a bullet and reorganize bullets. It's much harder to try and like rejigger where the story is after the chapters are all written. So like I feel like when I'm pantsing, then it's in my outline, and I feel like that flow. I feel that.
Mm.
I like the flow.
Well, you kind of have to have, an arc to the story. So I think with doing kind of even basic outlines, or saying I need this to happen here, here, and here, and here in order for us to get to this point. I mean, it's basically outlining, because you have to hit certain emotional points or certain relationship points along the way. And then once you get to that part where they finally connect and they finally are in their zone, and they're really there together with each other, then you have to decide what you're going to do afterwards.
Yeah.
Are they going to stay together? Are they going to break up?
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to, is someone going to come between them?
Yeah.
Are they going to get torn apart because they have to move away? So there's that whole other thing is, once they connect, then you have to figure out what happens afterwards.
Yeah. And rom-com tends to have very specific beats. There's you've got to weave in the kind of like lose them in the third act kind of thing before you bring them back together. And it's really funny. I was listening to a podcast the other day or reading something. I don't know. I consume too much content for me to remember. But it was talking about the hardest part of a rom-com is doing the lose each other in the third act without making it seem forced or unnatural. And I felt like, your loser in the third act, like that was like very, very well done. And because it's a rom-com, I don't feel like that's a spoiler, because that's just how rom-coms work.
Well, yeah.
How they work.
But yeah, it's just, they have to have that challenge. If they don't have that challenge, then is the relationship really worth staying together? And that's the key, is that's the moment in which they're challenged, how strong their feelings are, how strong their relationship is. Yeah.
So I totally agree with that. Somebody was saying the other day on TikTok, that there's a difference between lust at first sight and love at first sight. And I know that that's not what this book is about, but because we're talking about like testing people's feelings for each other, like in writing romance, or do you believe in something like love at first sight or just lust at first sight? Like, do you have any thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I do believe that some people do fall in love at first sight. Does it necessarily always lead to a relationship at that moment in time? Possibly not. I tend to write men who, as soon as they see them, it is like their partner. It is love at first sight. But as life is, you tend to sometimes kind of, it gets in the way. You don't necessarily connect in the right way that first time. Emotions can be something that can be kind of a tricky thing, because he could be in the right place for a relationship and she's not, and so that connection never really happens. It's like two ships passing in the night kind of thing. So one may remember one and the other one doesn't.
Oh, that always like, oh, you don't remember me?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God. So I'm totally that person. I consider myself face blind, because I will, I talk to people on video camera all the time, and I always turn on my video camera people don't always turn on theirs. And when that happens, sometimes you get like a little circle logo of their face.
Mm-hmm.
And literally, I will go into the office and see somebody who I talk to all the time, but their hair is a different color than their little logo picture, or they're like maybe like a little bit heavier, a little bit skinnier, and they'll be like, "Hi, Nicole," and I'll be like, "Hey, you, how you doing?" Like I have no clue, like just totally clueless. So I could see one of those people being like, if I were to admit, "What's your name again?" I could see them being like, "Oh, I literally talked to you today, you fiendish woman." I am a fiendish woman a little bit.
Well, see, I'm one who remembers a bunch of people that I meet, but I cannot for the life of me ever remember the names. And or I know where I met them based off of where I met them. So like I could have done a benefit because I used to do a lot of acting. Sometimes I would do like a benefit for a theater and I would recognize the person's face and I could see them 10 years later and I go, where do I know this person from? And I'm like, work? No. School? No. Oh, wait, theater? Yes. Okay. Was it performing or costuming? So then I have to go and divide it out. He goes, was it an actor I put costumes on or was it someone I performed with? And then from there, I can say, okay, at least I know where we have a connection with. And so maybe then the name will come to me because it's like, for me, it's like I do the little trick where if I don't say their name 3 times in a conversation, I will never remember it. Or the other thing I do is the whole visual memory where like I had a friend named Heather and I had to imagine a field of heathers so that I could remember Heather because for the I had known her like for several months and I could never remember her name. And then finally someone said her name and I was like, Field of Heather, Field of Heather. And it was like, and after that I remembered her name. Lord, it's just, to me, it's one of those challenges. So yes. So, but I also am a true believer in true love. And the whole thing where I also, have this whole thing where if you love them, let them go. Then they'll come back to you if they really truly are. So true love's kiss. I have the whole thing because when I kissed my husband for the first time, I knew I was going to marry him, which scared the hell out of me because I was moving away to go to school.
Oh.
So we had this whirlwind romance after that kiss. And then I had to leave to go to college. And, the whole thing about, sometimes you have to separate in order to realize that this is real. That's what happened with us for a whole year, pretty much. I was gone. And when I came back that summer, I said, nope, you're moving in with me because we got to make this happen.
I need you. Oh my gosh, that's so funny. I had been married before. I am what I call a serial monogamist. So I've never dated. I've never just casually dated anyone. Like if I'm with you for at least 2 years. No, regardless of how horrible you are. Like I'm in this for at least 2 years. So I've had like several long relationships, like 6 years, I was married once before. And so like when I was together with my husband and we had just started dating, I looked at him 2 months in and I was like, I'm gonna marry you. And he was like, what? Like too much. I'm like, nope, we're gonna move in together to save money to start. And then we're gonna get married. And God damn it, I was right. I win. I learned from shitty relationships.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's one of those things where my husband never asked me to marry him. It was just, we started talking about the wedding and the kids and where we wanted to live. And it was like the most natural thing we could have done. And when we moved in together, it was like we had been living together for years. It
Oh,
was the weirdest thing. And it was just like, it just felt like we were there. And 26 years later, we're still married and we still argue and fight, and we're very passionate about certain things. So we are and I'm stubborn headed, and I don't like to be told what to do. So, if you talk about feisty characters, I'm one. So
I think that that's funny because people think of like romantic love or think of the sparks at the beginning and of a relationship, and then they're like, we should never fight. This level of romance should and passion should last forever. But somebody explained it to me in a way that I thought was very beautiful. That love isn't like the sun. It doesn't, come up and burn you like fire and then go completely away. Love is like the moon, where it waxes and wanes, and that
mhm.
sometimes you will be passionate like that, and other times you'll be just friends, and other times you'll be roommates, and other times you can't stand each other, but then it will, wax again, and then you'll get back up to that place again. And as long as you understand that, that's the true nature of love, then you can, make your marriages last longer.
Oh yeah. It's just like we knew we were in it for the long haul. We did not think of it as a temporary thing, and we're very strong-willed individuals, and that's to me a good thing, because we're not we compromise, but we don't compromise our whole selves. And that's, to me, is very important, because I am my own person and he is his own person, and we have different likes and dislikes. And it's just, if you compromise your whole self, what are you? Are a vessel for another person? And
That's
that's not
unhealthy. I learned that that's like codependency. Like, years of
exactly.
therapy have taught me this is a bad thing.
My husband is typical of like, you're not allowed to do that. And I'm like, oh yeah,
Watch
watch
me.
me. Bye.
Hold my beer.
Exactly. See you later. Be back later.
Just because you said no, I'm doing it right. I was on the fence before. Now I'm committed.
Exactly. You just told me no. So there we go.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. And if you realize that, yes, when we write, we're doing an idealized, most of the time, love. But there's all the little nuance underlying things that kind of, since, being in a long time relationship like I have, I understand that certain things conflicts will come up and things like that. And then we work through them. We might not make up before bedtime and all that kind of stuff, but it could be days before we really talk again. But
I
except
don't
for
like that you
bye,
make me hold
bye.
your beer. I do not like that.
But it's like, but we truly do love each other, so therefore we forgive each other. And that's one of the things, when you write too, you have to understand that even though they have the arguments and they have the fights, or they get separated, it's the whole thing is about forgiveness, learning to accept the other as who they are. And so those are growing things for the character to do by the end of the book. So when they do come together again, they come it with a different view, and it's not necessarily the newness of the relationship or the passion or anything of that nature. It's I accept everything about you, the good and the bad. And I think that as a person, I can work through that with you and accept you as a whole person. Because yeah, and I think that that's the same thing with Theo and Violet, is they accept each other as a whole person. And they're him spending her heat with her and them talking, she starts to see a new perspective, a new light of who Theo is. He's not the asshole and the person that is a stickler for rules, and he's always constantly criticizing her. She sees him in a completely different light because she sees all of him.
They had
By
that moment of vulnerability together.
Right, they do. And to me, that was one of my favorite things to write. Was there's two moments actually. So there's the feeding, when he's feeding her food, which I absolutely love. And they're sharing past relationships and stuff. And it's to me very sweet and things. And then there's the bathtub scene that is very vulnerable. And I think it's more vulnerable for her because her heat's over. And so she doesn't know where it's going to go, and she's very scared.
In a lot of ways, I think Omegaverse really is a female fantasy, like quintessentially, because you are allowed to be a sexual being, and that's not looked down on, that's revered, like you're supposed to. And this is a precious, wonderful thing. Like, the messiness of sex is completely wonderful and expected. Yep. The man is forced to snuggle, like absolutely, like required to snuggle afterwards. And he is hardwired, not genetically, not culturally, instinctively. Yes. He is wired to take care of you, to feed you, to make sure you have water, to make sure that you have absolutely everything that you need, and it's not them feeling put upon. They want this.
Yes.
So it's totally the quintessential female fantasy, because it checks all my boxes.
My boxes too.
Double entendre. Double entendre. But speaking about Omegaverse again, I know that you have more books coming out in this series. Which one is coming next? Do you want to tease it at all?
It's easier said than done. And we are introduced a little bit to Joshua and Rachel. Rachel is Violet's best friend. She works as the CEO's assistant. And so she is, nothing gets past her. She's very determined. She's another one of those not typical Omegas, but she is massively in love with a friend who she's been friends with for a few years. And he is actually one of Theo's good friends. And we learn a little bit about his relationship with Theo, where they met and all that. And then we learn a bit more about Rachel, her family. And Joshua comes up. He is tired of his mother trying to set him up. And it is fake dating. And he asks one of his best friends to be his girlfriend for the week. And they get snowed in at the ski lodge. And of course, there's going to be the one bed, and there's going to be jealousy and all this other stuff, and then it's going to be a whirlwind, because she has decided that if she's going to pretend to be his girlfriend, she's going to prove to him why they need to be together, because he's afraid of messing it up. We have such a good friendship. Why ruin a good thing, is what he says. So I'm excited about it. A little scared. Excited.
That's like the way all writing goes, is you're just like, this is excellent, but will anyone like it?
Exactly. And that's the thing and it really, to me, I really want to do these characters justice, because I want them, I've always had crushes on my best friends that were guys, and it's just
I did like every one of my best friends for that serial monogamy thing. So it's like,
yeah, exactly. And it was like, every time, like there was this guy in high school that I liked, and every time he broke up with his girlfriend, I was like, here's my chance. And then he get with another girl, and I'm like, what?
My chance.
I find out. And then I find out at the end of the school year, like my senior year, we're sitting around talking in the chorus room, and he goes, I had a crush on you the whole high school. I was like, I'm gonna slap you.
God damn those high school relationships. It's funny. High school is all about awkwardness and mismatchedness, but middle school is all about crying over nothing. Like, I remember middle school dances. In the prehistoric age, I remember middle school dances, and all of the girls would be crying in the bathroom. Like, it would be like a litany. There would be a line. There would be mascara everywhere. Like he didn't dance with me, even though I looked at him for 2 seconds, and it was supposed to be our moment. Ah! Or he danced with me and I did it wrong. Ah! He didn't show up tonight. Ah! Like everything. Like, you're going through puberty for the first time, and it's just rampant. Like
it's just emotional. It's a whole ball of emotions.
Oh my God. So we're almost at time. So I wanted to talk about, if there was one thing that you'd like to tell writers or readers, like one kind of uplifting thing that you wanted to let everybody know, what would that thing be? Surprise, deep thought. Go.
Well, like with anything, I mean, it's be true to who you are. So, I mean, a lot of my writing has a lot of me in it. But everybody has a light side and a dark side. So sometimes you go into the darkness in order for you to write. But it's one of those things where it's just, if you're true to yourself and who you are, I think it shines. And I think it feels right, and people think it feels right too, and they enjoy it. And it's just like, if you're trying to force something, it's not working. So I don't know. Did I answer it?
I think so. So, all right. So when is your next book coming out? Do you know? Do you have a release date?
Tentatively, it is February 28th.
Okay, of 2023. Because people will be watching this in perpetuity forever, damn it.
My God. But yes, hopefully. And then I'm working on some other things. I'm working with an editor on an actual novel, which is a supernatural romance, angels, fallen angels. So I'm hoping
you had me at fallen angels. That's it. Is
there
anyone with black wings?
Actually, he has white wings.
Oh, this needs to change.
Actually, when he falls, his wings break off.
Oh, all right. That's a different kind of sexy.
Yeah. So he has a whole nother vulnerability, and he's basically everything has been torn from him. I mean, the wings being torn from him is a very symbolic thing. He is being massively punished. So yes, I'm working with that. I'm hoping that will be a series, and of 3 to 4 books. And I'm going to focus on supernatural creatures that normally are not, I mean, no werewolves, no vampires. I'm thinking nymphs and silky and fays.
Nice.
So
Nice.
that's what I'm thinking of doing as a kind of a series. And so and then I have a couple of novellas that I'm still in the process of developing and working on, that I'm hoping will be out maybe possibly this year.
So in other words, nobody talked to Christina because she was absolutely too busy to talk to you.
And I constantly am getting distracted, you know, family, pets,
real
husbands.
Real life. And you're like, goodbye, real life. I don't want you anymore. But,
prompts.
Plot bunnies.
You're like going,
plot bunny.
You kind of look at it and go, how dare you put this prompt in my Twitter feed? How dare you? Because now I have to write it.
So speaking of Twitter feed, for anyone watching the video, down in the descriptions, we're going to put all of Christina's contact information. Well, not like her personal contact information, but all the ways that you can reach out to her on social media. We'll put a link to the exception to the rule. And with that, thank you for watching, readers. Okay, bye.
Why would you read that? That's so dirty.